Hey guys, I'm Drew the Helium Noob. Thank you for watching my videos. Today I'll be going through part 3 of my install, the RAKwireless outdoor enclosure. Before I jump into my setup, please make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the alerts, that way you can get all of my content as I release it. I have a lot of useful links and information posted up on my website, heliumnoob.com, so go ahead and check that out. Don't have any sponsors yet, so I want to ask for your support by using my affiliate links. And also, if you really like my content and want to help me with producing it, please consider donating to my channel through the link in about my channel. Greatly appreciate it. So let's go, noobs. So today I want to go through the unboxing and build of the RAKwireless outdoor enclosure. Now, if you've watched some of my other installation videos, I utilize my basement, my office in the basement here, to kind of show you how to get this thing prepared and install it, but it's not actually the final install. So I'm going to utilize the board that I put in when I was doing the antenna video, and we're going to take this enclosure, we're going to build it out, go through all the parts so you guys understand everything that's included and how it all goes together. We'll get it mounted here, that way you can get a visual of, hey, this is what this thing's going to look like on the house. Once we get that done, on the next video, what I'll do is I'll actually take this outside, put it on my house, get everything hooked up, and I'll kind of shoot a time lapse of me doing that, and then also kind of slow down and go into some more details on a few things. Alright guys, so again, here is the RAKwireless outdoor enclosure. So I just want to go through all the parts and components, kind of show you guys how this thing's going to go together. So first of all, we got the actual enclosure. Now this is made of aluminum. It's pretty solid when you open it up and you get this in. Very solid, good build. So basically it comes in two different pieces, and what we'll end up doing is we'll end up putting screws kind of through the bottom to connect the cover on it once we're all done. But so this is the actual enclosure. It does have, just kind of want to see if we can zoom in here. We do have an area for a ground, GPS, and then there's two other outlets for things like the PoE that you can utilize if you need it. Now keep in mind, this enclosure is used for multiple different installations, so there's always going to be a couple extra things. But like in our instance, we're going to be using the low-RA side, but there are also connectors for Wi-Fi, LTE, and then LTE main. So these are just some things. Most of these are going to be plugged up and shut, but we'll go through that as we move along here a little bit. For our specific installation, it's going to not utilize everything on this. So that's the actual enclosure. With the enclosure, you're going to have basically what I would call the mounting rack. So this is going to go on the inside of the enclosure. This is where you're going to take your miner. You actually hook the miner up to this, and then we put it in. There's several different bags of hardware. Got some bolts there, some screws there, some smaller screws, and we'll kind of run through and get these things installed correctly. This is kind of what I was talking about. These are like the covers for the pieces that you're not going to use. That way you don't leave any holes open there. So that's something that we're going to utilize to get everything that we're not using kind of plugged up. It comes with some two-sided tape, and then it also comes with just like a roll of PVC tape, black tape or whatever. So that can be used there. These are the actual mounts here. These go on the wall, and then this piece actually goes onto the wall. This piece goes onto the back of the actual enclosure, kind of like that. And then there's a third component that we utilize to tie those two together, so it'll kind of be able to point it in different directions if you need to. But so that's what that is for. Then you got your antenna. So this is an N-type female that goes on the top of the miner, or excuse me, of the enclosure, and then you have an RPSMA that actually runs through onto the inside of the enclosure. This will go direct to the miner on the inside. So that's what that's for. Last thing I kind of want to talk about and touch on for a little extra time here is going to be PoE. Now there's a lot of ins and outs with PoE, but the real basics is if you're using, let's say like in my install I'm using Cat6 Ethernet cable. So Cat6 Ethernet cable is going to be designed to go about 328 feet before it loses signal, if you will. So basically, if you got to remember with PoE, basically we're taking an Ethernet cord and we're using some of the strands to move, to get our internet signal, and then we're using some of the strands to get power. Now, there's always the question of how far can I run this thing and not lose power? Well, that is actually more determined on the injector that you have. and then also how much power the device needs that's drawing from it. In this instance, again, 328 feet. Now I'm only like about 125, I think, so I shouldn't have any issues. But there are a couple different PoE injectors, so I want to just kind of touch on these real quick. So this is basically what they call a PoE injector. Okay, so this is going to plug in here. This goes into your wall. Now this would go kind of where your source of your internet's at. So like for me, it'll be in my basement. What you're going to do is you'll notice on here it says LAN and then it says PoE. So LAN is going to be your local area network. That's going to come from you know, your router or whatever you have. So I have a router in what I call my IT rack in the basement. So I'm going to hook this to my router, and then my line that runs outside to the all the way up by the antenna and then back down into the enclosure will actually get plugged in to here. So this will be the house side. This goes out. Now the one that comes with this is 48 volts. I don't know if you can see that, but it's 48 volts, okay? That's more than sufficient to run something small that full 328 feet. Now the miner only draws 5 volts, about 3 amps. So that's kind of what puts the power into the line. Now again, this is the house side, so you have your line that comes in, right, from your router into the LAN, and then PoE goes out to the actual device, or in my case, the enclosure. So you're going to have a cord coming from here. Now this cord, we'll show you in a second how this gets installed on here, but there's actually another Ethernet jack in here. That's how we keep it waterproof. So my outdoor cord will actually go into this. This will go into the miner. And then this connection on the inside of, or excuse me, into the enclosure, then on the inside of the enclosure, this Ethernet cord will actually go into what they call a PoE splitter, okay? So now that we got internet and power into the enclosure, right? Now we have to split it back out. So we split it back out to a USB-C, which is what powers the miner, and then that's our Ethernet connection onto the miner. So that's kind of a three-piece type thing here, but that's basically how it all works. So we'll go ahead and we'll get this installed, and you'll see kind of what I'm talking about with how that gets into the enclosure. Alright guys, so let's start putting this thing together. And I pulled up my chair, hopefully that doesn't take up too much of the camera. But so basically what we'll go through here again is how to kind of start putting this thing together. So first thing you want to do is you want to close out any of the plugs that's, or any of the holes that you're not going to use. So again, if we look at the top here, this is the one for low rock. This is the one that we're going to end up using, so we'll have to block out these 3. Now the kit comes with some blockouts again, so we'll open these up here. Let's get this out of the way for now. Kind of dump this little package out, okay? And you'll see there's 3 of them in here, and they have a little O-ring. Oops. They have a little O-ring on the inside here, and that's kind of what creates your weather-tight seal. Now there's a bag of some smaller screws here, so these are the ones that we're going to use. So let's dump a few of these out. Maybe. There we go. Get some of these out here on the table. Alright, and the first thing we're going to do is, again, we're going to block out these 3 slots here. So I'm going to try to do this so that you guys can see what I'm doing, but basically you just line this up here. Okay. Like that. And then we're going to put the little screws in there. One at a time. So that's that, okay? So again, this is what we're going to use for the antenna connection, but let's flip it to the other side. Okay. Now on your other side, let's take a look. Again, you got ground, GPS, and then Ethernet PoE. Now again, only thing on this side that we're going to use is going to be your ground, and then also your PoE. Okay. So we need to block these other two holes here. And again, they come with little plugs. Again, they have O-rings on them. And this is just going to screw in. Okay, like so. So that's closed. You might want to grab some channel locks or something and maybe crank that down just a little bit more. Now this one's a little bit trickier, but you basically have this plug here. This is a little rubber gasket or ring. Okay, you're gonna put that on this like this. Okay, like that. And again, that's gonna be your weather tight seal there. Okay, this is gonna slide in. And then now on the inside, the little nut that comes with it goes over it like so. Alright, and again, I'm just hand tightening these down. You might want to crank down on them a little bit, you know, before you put it up. But so that's going to cover that. So again, now we got ground left, and we got room for the PoE. Okay. Okay, so now let's talk about where the miner goes. So again, I don't have the miner yet. As soon as it's in, we'll obviously get it installed in here. But they have this cage, if you will, for it. Now if you notice, on this side there's 4 screws. That's what's going to go into your miner. Okay, so your miner will actually sit on this side of it, and you screw in this way, and then when you go to install this in the box, you're actually going to flip it over. So now, if you will, your miner is sitting there like that, right? So this is actually going to get mounted to the inside after you put your miner on it. But just to kind of show you, we'll go through it real quick. But you'll notice the screw pattern. There's one there, and one there. So when we get them in here and line it up, there's actually 3 different spots. Okay. There's a hole there, or a thread there, and it's threaded there. So once you're installed with that, that's going to go on like so, and then you're going to screw that in as well. And there's this. Now there's, if you look in the one packet, there's 3 smaller screws, and then there's a bigger one with a bigger washer. That's going to be your ground. Those 3 are going to be what holds on the enclosure, or holds the miner rack onto the enclosure. So you put these 3 in. Again, your miner is going to sit right here like that. Okay. So now we're going to put on our antenna. Okay. So again, this is going to go on the top of the unit. LoRa. Boom. There we go. So let's open this thing up. Okay. Now you can see this is, again, this is an N-type female antenna connector. Okay, and then this is RPSMA. So this RPSMA is going to go actually into the unit. Let's see if we can get you a little closer here. This is going to go through the hole, the RPSMA side. Okay, feed that through. And just like these ones, now you got that there. Okay, so let's get some more screws lined up here. so you can see the 4 screws. Now, if you're not going to put this thing in right away, I'd suggest you put your little plastic cap back on there. That way you don't bend up any of the connection in there. But now you see, now you have your PSMA connector on the inside, so this goes into your miner. Okay, so we'll just kind of set that in there for now. All right. Now on the bottom side, I'm going to put this ground screw in before I lose it. But this ground screw, it's a bigger one with a bigger washer, goes into where your grounding is going to be. So we'll add another ground wire from here up to my line that runs and connects to the antenna, and then also runs down to the ground bar. Okay, so now the only other thing on the outside of the unit, except for the actual mounting hardware that we need to put in, is your PoE connection. So again, to get this thing weatherproof, okay, this is how we got to do this. So again, you're going to grab this piece here. Okay, this side's going to go into the enclosure. This side goes on the outside of the enclosure. Now if you notice, this is threaded. I don't know if we can get it on camera or not, but this is threaded in here. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're actually going to take, again, this cord, and it's going to go in. And then once it's in, you just screw this down. Now, it can be a little bit of a pain in the butt, which is okay. So we might have to flip this over. And what you might have to do is help yourself by kind of turning this at the same time. So let's see if we can. Get it to grab. There it goes. So see, now that it's grabbing, now we can just spin it. Okay. That's it there. Now there's a weather-tight seal there, so you're not going to get any water or anything in there. But now your Ethernet cord is actually into here. Okay? So now on the top side, let's take a look here. Okay? So if we kind of start taking this apart. Okay. What you'll notice is it's like there's a jack in there. Okay. Now this jack is where the line comes from the house. So it comes from in the house, through the outer wall, up the side of my house, and it's going to go into here and connect. Now when I do that connection, I'll try to throw my GoPro on my head. That way you can see me do it. But you can see there's a rubber gasket in here. The gasket does kind of pop out, and then you put your cord through it, wrap the gasket around it, you can see the little slit in it. Okay, and then, you know, once it's in, you screw this back down. Like that, and then again, this has to go on the cord. I'll do this in a second when I get it mounted up on the wall. Makes it a little bit easier, but then this will screw back down, and that crimps down on the Ethernet cord. So that's how you get all of your connections on the outside done. Okay, so now all your connectors are on the inside. Now again, this splitter is going to take your Ethernet cord that is PoE, right? And it's going to put it into the splitter. And then the splitter is going to go to a USB-C, which goes to your miner, and then also your internet connection to your miner. And once I get the miner, we'll figure out how to lay this all in here and get it all put down nice and neat. Basically, you're probably just going to end up folding it in something like that and zip tying it. But that's how that goes in there. Okay. So once that's done, the top is real simple. On the back side, there's, again, it's threaded. So once you got everything enclosed, and there's an O-ring here. It's like a rubber gasket, if you will. It's not really an O-ring because it's square, but you get what I'm saying. Okay, so it's a rubber gasket that goes in there. That's how you keep it weatherproof. This will just go over, and then your screws actually come from the back side into here at each spot. Although I would suggest maybe flipping it over. And now that you got it like that, hopefully you can see all the screw holes. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12 of them. So they kind of run along the rim here. Okay, so we got another pack of screws. It'll be just the right size for that, I'd imagine. And again, we're going to go through and get these all screwed in. Like so. And again, you'll do this 12 times all the way around. I'm only going to put 2 in for now because again, I got to take this thing back apart so that I can put the miner in it in the next video for you guys. But just kind of wanted to give you an idea of how those screws go in. You see them right there, again, all the way around, all 4 sides. Okay, but again, only going to put 2 in for now just because I don't want to have to take apart 12 screws to put my miner in when it comes in. So now we'll look at the mounting hardware. So this large bag comes with this group here. Okay. Now, 3 things you're going to need. You're going to need this piece, which actually goes on the enclosure. You're going to need this piece, which is like a little arm that changes the direction of this connection. I'll show you that in a second. And then the actual mount for the wall. Okay. Now, what's kind of neat about this would be for a couple different types of setups, right? So you could technically put these like this with some bolts through them and go around a pipe if you needed to. In my instance, okay, this is going to go right into the wall. Like if this is my wall, this is going to go like this. And depending on your wall, if you have concrete or wood, you know, like me, I have siding with OSB behind it, so I just use some screws. But then you put your screws into the wall, whether they're concrete screws or wood screws, just depends on your installation. Okay, so in order to get this set up, we're gonna grab this piece here. Okay, now if you'll notice, it's kind of hard to see it maybe on the camera, but if you look from like the middle to the bolt patterns, okay, these 3 are actually shorter than one. So one side is longer than the other 3, and you just got to kind of find that same pattern on your enclosure. Okay, so that's going to go on your enclosure like that, and then we'll take these small ones, these small bolts. Okay, and then you're going to put a lock washer and then a washer on it, and then finger tighten them in there just to kind of get it set up. Okay, same thing, bolt, lock washer, washer, set up the second one. Okay, and then another one, bolt, lock washer, and washer. And last one, bolt, lock washer, washer. Okay. Like so. And then we'll just take a ratchet, or 10 millimeter socket. And we'll go ahead and just kind of crank these down. So, okay, those are tightened down, those are installed, ready to go. Okay, now we'll take this little arm, okay, and again, this is going to change, you know, basically your 90-degree. You can kind of see how it's set up, right? So if you'll notice, there's some ridges here, and then on the enclosure, there's also some ridges. That's just to help it just from not rotating once it's put together. So you want to make sure you line up those ridges with the ridges on this bracket, like so. Okay. And then there's a little bit longer bolt. Now, if you look on here, it's designed to actually sit in there, so you don't need 2 wrenches to put it together. Okay. And then a washer and a nut are going to go on the other side. So we just slide that in, like so. Okay, and then a washer and the nut. see that washer and nut. Okay, kind of hold this, get it finger tight. Again, 10 millimeter. Crank it down. So that's that piece. Okay. Now again, this one's going to do the almost the exact same thing, but we're going to put it here. Okay. Okay, so now we're at the board, right? So this is going to go on here like this. Okay. Now you want to kind of line up, figure out where your grooves are again on there. Okay. Those little grooves in that arm are going to be on this side for me. So I want to make sure when I put my bracket on that those grooves, matching grooves, are this side. So we'll go and we'll get this screwed in real quick. Now again, outside, I'm on siding with OSB behind it. So mine are just going to be wood screws, similar to what I used up at the peak on the antenna. If you have, you know, concrete block or something like that, then obviously you're going to be different. You just got to choose the right fastener for your specific installation. Okay, so here I'm going to utilize just the two middle ones here on this for now. You can see I'm going to use this one and this one. I suppose you could use 4 if you really wanted to. Down here we'll get the 4 or the 2 going. Again, this is just almost the same exact screws that I'm using for my antenna. We're just going to install that like so. Alright. Again, what's cool about the fasteners that I've chosen, they're Tex. I got them at Home Depot. Now, these particular fasteners are actually designed to go through metal roofing. And if you see, there's a little rubber grommet on there underneath the washer, and that's to kind of keep you weatherproof. So again, we'll put this one in. Okay, that's on there, solid as a rock. Now, again, you want to line up your little grooves, okay? And those are going to go into that like this. And then we'll set up with another bolt. So let's get zoomed in a little bit more so you can see that. Okay, so we're zoomed in about as far as I can get it now. So again, we're going to take like the little bit longer bolt that came in that pack. You're also going to have a nut and a washer on this as well. Okay, so we're going to line up these little grooves here. Now again, if I flip it all the way around on the other side, remember how I said it's made for a hex, right? So this is going to fit in, so you don't have to have 2 wrenches when you're installing it. And then of course you just want to make sure that your antenna side is facing up and your PoE side is facing down. Okay, so feed it through. Okay, washer and nut. So again, just take your 10 millimeter ratchet it down, and that's pretty darn solid. So if I zoom back out, like I was trying to show you guys, if I loosen the one bolt, I'm able to move it on this axis. Okay, if you needed to create some kind of angle there. And then if we do the other way, again, I already zoomed in. It's hard to do both at the same time and show you both of it. But if I loosen the other bolt now, I can actually make this thing point down or up, depending on what you need for your installation. So it kind of gives you just enough flexibility to do what you got to do. Like so. Now again, this is your N-type antenna, right? So this is going to, like in my instance, my antenna is going to be about 2 foot above this. Or it's actually a little bit more than that. It's probably closer to about 5 foot above this. So my cable is only a 7 foot run total from the antenna down to the enclosure. Okay, again, pop this little plastic guy off that I left on there. Hook, make your connections, good to go there. And then your Ethernet is obviously going to come up through the bottom, back down to your house, down and around. And then again, if you remember, we have a ground on the bottom as well. So I would run that up, kind of up and around the back, hook that with my other cable for the antenna, and kind of run those back up together and then splice that in. That way that's the enclosure is grounded as well. Now again, there's quite a few different things that you can do with this. If you notice, this comes with longer bolts as well. These are like probably 5-inch bolts in a second clamp, wall clamp. Now again, what that's designed for is if you're not going into a wall, what you would do is put this on the other side of that other clamp and run your bolt all the way through. Okay, and then that'll allow you to have the pull in there. So I hope that explains it good enough. But if you need more, shoot me a comment and we'll jump in there and I'll show the other installation. But that's how you would utilize the second bracket if you needed to go onto a pole. Alright guys, so that just about wraps it up for the RAKwireless outdoor enclosure for the RAK Hotspot miner. Appreciate you joining me on the video today. If you would, please hit that subscribe button. Make sure you get all my content as I release it. I'm going to do a second video of this, just like I did with my antennas, right? I'm going to shoot a time lapse looking up at me putting this on the house. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit different. I'm going to throw the GoPro on my head mount and take you up there when it's safe to do so. I'll take you guys up on the ladder with me, show you how to do these other little connections. In the meantime, check out heliumnoob.com. I got a lot of useful resources and links on there for you guys to check out. I'm trying to get everything put in one place because I know there's a ton of questions out there. If you would, just click those affiliate links. I greatly appreciate it. Again, it doesn't cost you any more. If you're going to buy this case, if you click my link or you go direct, it's the same amount of money. All you're doing is support me and supporting the channel so I can get more of these videos out there for you guys. So I greatly appreciate it, and we'll catch you guys on the next one.